unicorn hanging out with Ian, using a new system. I don't know how to use it. So the magic, that's Brian. Everybody. Okay, so today we are hanging out here with Ian Moss. He is one of the lead, or is the lead designer for Bunkers and Badasses, the RPG based off of Borderlands, the video game. It's a video game, right?
Yes, it's a whole series. Lots of them. There's so many.
There's so many.
Okay. So your Twitch. This will be the comments from my Twitch page.
Okay.
Anybody there shows up. And this will be your comments for your multi-stream.
Alrighty. So,
Facebook and YouTube comments.
Hey friends, if anybody wants to watch from Twitch, it's under Cool Dad Shorts. And he has cool sound things. So please, play me some sound bits. I'm so sorry, Ian.
It's all good.
I feel like you've watched enough of these to know that, like, it's always going to be magic. You never know what's going to happen. It's always going to be a great time. So we're going to hang out here for a few minutes while people jump on. I'm going to go ahead and share the video. And, yeah. It'll be pretty sweet. Pretty sweet there.
My phone's out of reach. I can't. It's over there.
Ooh, we have O'Brien Collins trying to figure out how to attend my event tonight. Hi, Ryan. Let me send you the link. My phone's gonna die, so maybe I should do this from the desktop with the 3 screens in front of me. You know.
I just have 2 4K. It's like having 4 monitors. It's.
Oh my gosh! Do not give Brian any ideas. He's always like, "I need more monitors," and I'm like, "Nah, dog, you good." But I need more.
I needed 2, and I sprung for what I didn't realize was 4K at the time. And now I realize like 4K is like too much resolution, so I just have 4 different windows like side by side. My workflow is insane, but also the distraction potential is very high.
Right. There's been so many times I've come downstairs and he's like, you know, just playing Magic rather than working on one screen, and the other screen's YouTube. And I was like, "What you doing, buddy?" I mean, I get it, right? Oh my gosh, I have not used a desktop in quite some time for like my stuffs. And I'm like, where do I send messages at? Today's a rough day. I apologize in advance. I don't know what's happening in my head. It's a party in there. It's fine.
It's more fun.
It's totally more fun. Ian, how has your week been?
Good, long. We're doing like a lot of playtesting, and I'm like matching my girlfriend's schedule. So she works like 10-hour days, so I'm always in here like super early. But I never like I don't know. it's been a long week.
Yeah, like everyone I've talked to has been like, this has been just a super long week. Is it over yet? And I'm like, right? I don't know. Boop, boop. So what does your girlfriend do?
She works at a packaging plant. It's super small. It's got like 25 employees, but they do 4 10-hour days. So she has Fridays off. So she loves that part. But I don't have Fridays off. So I just do the 10 hours that she does every week plus another day's worth of work at the office.
You're like, thanks.
Yeah.
Wow. You're like, thanks. I appreciate that. Okay, cool. Posty post to some places. Cool. Okay. So, I don't want to like jump right into Bunkers and Badasses because you've done a ton of stuff. So maybe we should talk about like what you've done leading up to this and then why this is so cool. Wonderland Wars, it's right there.
Yeah.
I like how it's like always which way am I going? Okay,
right.
Is Wonderland Wars your first game?
Duelist War Island was my first solo. I guess the first one was News at 11, but that was so long ago and so few people played it that it doesn't matter.
You know what? No, it does matter because you did it and it got you where you are today. So it matters. Matters. I love it. So then Then it was Dinosaur Island.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that was under was that a Pandasaur Rex game?
Pandasaurus, yep.
Okay. And then Wonderland Wars, who was that with?
Skybound and Druid City.
Okay. And then now you're doing Bunkers and Badasses.
It's very different. it's a very different thing.
I mean, very different.
RPG.
So so Bunkers and Badasses RPG. Is that your first RPG?
I've done modules and stuff for other things like Kids on Bikes and Teens in Space, the North Sea epilogues, the one they did for like the North Sea games that Garfield Games made. So I've done like small bits for other RPGs. But this is the first like full size one I've done. And what a way to start.
Right? Like here, take something that's massive that a lot of people know. Have fun.
Yeah.
Like, how did you land this gig? This is pretty sweet.
So Marshall Britt, who's from Yanaguana Games and also is the I don't know his official dub title. He handles all the money for Leader Games now. We had known each other for a while and we had been working on this thing called the HRPG, which was our way of gamifying business cards. So it uses the information on any person's business card to create like a unique dungeon and generate monsters that you fight in that dungeon.
That's pretty cool.
We had known each other for a while. Pretty awesome. We were actually hoping to like start working on that as soon as this finishes, like finish it up so we can like get it out now that, people know I do RPG things. So now this thing comes out. Now they, strike while the iron is hot, if you will.
Right.
And so that had this very like quirky sense of humor in all of the writing, because it's like the human resources as an RPG, but it turns out that people who retire don't actually retire, they just turn into resources for the company. So it's an actual human resources company. So all of the writing was very quirky and it had this like fantasy edge, but also the real world business office type humor.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he got the chance, when he learned at Leader that they were hopefully gonna be working on that product, as soon as he knew what it was, he immediately was like, I think I know the person for this.
That's awesome. Because
Bunkers and Badasses is also very much that like fantasy, but mixed with guns and weapons and all this crazy stuff. So kind of humor.
Mm-hmm. I love it. How long have you been working on this one?
It's definitely been over a year. It was first mentioned to me at like Origins last year.
Solid.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. The cat is being extra needy. Okay, do you want to make your one appearance and then you go away? All right, world, this is our cat. Her name is Uhura. She's in every live stream. There you go. The world now sees you.
All right.
Brian, will you come get the cat now? She's like pawing at my legs. Okay, so for people who don't know, Origins is in Columbus, and it's a pretty big gaming convention, which is pretty awesome, and I enjoy the food.
Yeah. Food at Origins.
Yeah.
North Market? Yes, please.
North Market, and they have a donut place there that has vegan donuts, and take all my money.
Oh.
Have you had the donut place there?
No, I've just done like 3 a.m. pierogies because there's a place called Pierogi Mountain where you can just get like individual pierogies delivered and they have like 60 different varieties. It's amazing.
Why have I not done this?
It's called Pierogi Mountain. Like it's
It's already set up perfectly. Okay, so what's it like to be approached to design something?
It's interesting. It's kind of how like probably half of the stuff that I've worked on is it's either I have made the thing and then shown it to people who I wanted to publish it, or you know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like that's kind of how Duelosaur Island was made. Was I had played Dinosaur Island a bunch in like the play testing and everything while John and Brian were working on it, and so I'd been playing every version of it, and then there was a conversation I had with John Gilmore and Brian Lewis. Sorry for their full names for anyone who doesn't know.
That's her. I tend to forget, like, oh yeah, people don't know who we're talking about. Now it's
so I'd been talking with him about like the products and stuff that were going to be coming out and like the projects and stuff he was working on. And the only thing for like Dinosaur Island was, I think, an expansion that it was just they were talking about at the time. They hadn't even done anything with it. And I was like, man, this should really be more stuff in the Dinosaur Island world, because I feel like it's such a big playground, right? It's
That
a real
is a
big
massive
sandbox to play in.
Yeah, it's very massive. There's a lot of opportunity there.
And so I was like, I wanna make something for it. And I was like, oh, I think it'd be cool to have like a 2-player game, like a Seven Wonders Duel version of Dinosaur Island. And so I started working on it, and eventually I showed it to John, I showed it to Brian, they both liked it, and then I was like, well, do you think I should show it to Nathan and Molly, who are the owners of Pandasaurus? And they were like, yep, I will get a hold of them and we'll get you a meeting. So I got a meeting with them. I think it was either at Origins or Gen Con. It was one of the big two where everyone has like not a lot of time to talk and is very, very busy.
It's like all of them.
Yeah. So they sat down, or I sat down with them, and I started bringing it out, and they're like, all right, well, we're definitely going to look at this because, we are kind of interested, but I just want you to know going in that we may have, I don't know why we'd want to make a 2-player version of a game that already plays 2 players, that sort of thing. Like there's a chance we might might not be for us. And I was like, that's fine. Let's just go ahead and try it out. Thank you for your time, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of it, they were visibly annoyed because they were like, well, dang it. Like now we have to actually make this. So they were like,
that's awesome. That is like the good kind of annoyance you want, where you're like, yeah, showed you, make my game. I like it. That's a good way to go.
So half the time my interactions have been like that, where I've worked on a game and then I show it to the publishers. And the other half the time people will and companies will reach out and be like, hey, we think you would be a good fit for this kind of product or this kind of game.
Mm-hmm.
Which was kind of what happened with Wonderlands War, which is kind of the other half of the experience for that, is James Hudson of Druid City Games and Skybound Tabletop had reached out to John and I about working on a Alice in Wonderland themed game. And we were like, okay, but can we approach it differently? And then through all of those talks on how do we approach this differently, we came into what ended up becoming Wonderlands War.
Yeah.
And he immediately, the original thing was too, I believe that what ended up being Tidal Blades, Heroes of the Reef, was originally themed as an Alice in Wonderland game, which is where he had this idea from, which is just kind of like that game had changed themes so they could obviously to become the massive success that it is now with the wonderful, wonderful art from Mr. Cuddington. And so the Eisners wanted to actually make an Alice in Wonderland game because they didn't get to because that thing turned into Tidal Blades. So we ended up making Wonderland's War with them. So that's the both halves of it is either I make a game for a company and then show it to companies, or a company reaches out saying, I have an idea or a theme or something that I want to make a game around. How can you do this? And so the Bunkers and Badasses was definitely that second style where they were like, we want to make an RPG out of this fictional RPG that exists within the Borderlands universe. And so that was actually a pretty cool starting point because I had been a huge fan of the Borderlands series since the very first game came out.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those things where I was like, oh man, I've accidentally been preparing for this for years.
I played all the games. I know all the storylines. Let's go.
Right. So the easiest place to start was obviously go and see how the DLC that it was based around, which was from Borderlands 2. It's called Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep.
Mm-hmm.
And in it, the characters in the game play fictional characters within the world of Bunkers and Badasses, which is Tiny Tina's favorite RPG for good reason. It's great. And so I went back and I replayed that DLC. I just played through Borderlands 2 again because that's just fun. I do that plenty of times. I've played through that game probably 4 times now.
That's awesome.
And only twice for research purposes. And so I went back through the DLC and I started seeing how it handled everything and what were some of the areas to start. And really, the first place that you have to start with Borderlands, anything Borderlands, even Bunkers and Badasses, which is like a fantasy world, is the guns. Because Borderlands is a series famous for its weapons. So I
Are they
obviously
like
started with the weapons.
ridiculous?
They
Like-
are crazy and numerous. I guess are the two words to describe them.
Alrighty. I like that. I like that numerous is one of them. Like, all right. So a lot of guns.
It is the series is known as a looter shooter. So it's all about getting a bunch of good weapons and shields and all the best gear and killing a whole lot of bad guys.
Okay. I like that. That's pretty cool. Awesome. What is the designing process on doing an RPG? Like, what steps do you go to? Obviously, like, you had a video game to, like, base this off of, but, like, what pieces do you take? How do you decide what to take? How do you do the things that you did?
Through playtesting, usually. But at the start, like I said, I started with kind of the weapons. That's what I knew had to work because combat is such a huge part of that world, and especially like in Bunkers and Badasses, there's these big boss fights and these fantastical creatures like dragons and skeletons and all of those things. And so since that was going to be such a huge part of the design, I figured making sure that using weapons was fun and interesting, and having a weapon that was awesome made you want to use it to go look for more weapons that are awesome. And so I kind of started there. I started with that as the little piece, and I just had like scribble down on a piece of paper how I thought it was going to work, and I put it in front of a person, and I was like, hey, like here are the steps on how to do this. Go through them and let me see how if anything like messes you up, or if it's too difficult, or if it's fun or interesting. So I basically just had what ended up becoming the weapon cards just on like a scratch piece of paper written out, and then I had a person basically roll dice to mimic you actually using the weapon to see if it worked, and it did. So from there I was like, okay, well now I have weapons. Well, now what makes a character? So then it was like you have weapons, and then you go on to what is your character like, and then from there it's like, okay, now what can you do with enemies, and now how do we deal with kind of the rest of the world that's not combat, because that's always a very big portion of RPGs is the world. And you're not always just going to be shooting bad guys and just murdering everything you come across. Some people are, but most people aren't. So I also had to figure out how the rest of the world worked and how you were going to get through challenges that you might not be able to shoot your way out of.
I definitely am like one of those players where I'm like, the first thought isn't, oh, let's like shoot them up. Like, no. No, like the few times we played Dungeons and Dragons, everyone knows that. I'm like, so like, can we just walk around it? Like, I don't understand. Like, I'm not very good at Dungeons and Dragon player. Sorry, friends. So yeah, that would definitely like appeal to me, is knowing like the whole world and different ways to go about things. That's cool. How many different like versions have you gone through of this?
Quite a few,
I would imagine. Yeah, with it being an over-year process.
Yeah, originally there were 6 stats, because 6 is like a nice Dungeons and Dragons-esque number of stats to have for characters. But that system didn't end up really working, because you really want whatever the core stats for your character are. In this case, you're a Vault Hunter. You really want all of their stats to be equally useful.
Okay.
Like, you want players who want to be as accurate as possible, do as much damage as possible, be as fast as possible, or just have the full mastery of all of their skills. And so we had 2 extra stats on there that just didn't seem like they were as powerful or as useful all the time as those 4 stats. So we ended up going down to just 4 stats for your character, which is very freeing, because it allowed us to kind of play with knobs and dials elsewhere to get that kind of variety. And so those went through a lot. The weapon cards also went through a lot of steps of simplifications and just ease of use, but also like, how far can we twist it to, like, how far can we twist the fun knob before it breaks, kind of was the goal with all of the things. One of the big things in the Borderlands universe, also in Bunkers and Badasses, is like there's these manufacturers or guilds, and each of their weapons operates differently and should feel different. But how different can we make them before, like if you're shooting a skulldugger weapon, it's got to feel different than a black powder weapon, because those are two different manufacturers with two very different goals. So we wanted to make sure there's a lot of revisions just getting that right and making each guild feel unique, but also like their counterparts from the series.
Mm-hmm. What are like the 4 stats?
So the 4 stats that each Vault Hunter has is accuracy, which kind of describes how well you are at shooting the things that you're trying to shoot versus anything else.
Which makes sense for a shooting game.
Yeah. And also like how you can interact and how knowledgeable you are of things. So there are things called checks, which there's insight and interact, which are both based off of your accuracy. Then there's damage, which is how good you are at inflicting damage upon the things that you want to inflict damage upon. That one's pretty self-explanatory. That one's just good for damage. But also it kind of represents your strength in the game, because it's how much potential you have for damage.
Okay.
So it also kind of determines how far you can throw a grenade if you really want to throw a grenade, which again does more damage after you throw it.
Yeah.
So the third one is speed. Okay. So speed is all about, I need to be up there in the action. It kind of determines how far you can move. It also determines how fast you are at taking action. So it helps your initiative. So initiative obviously kind of works very similar to other RPGs, where you roll a d20, add your initiative modifier, and then hopefully it's higher than all of the enemies, and you get to go first. So speed helps you out there. Speed also helps your talking to people. If you gotta talk fast, people get bored and in the fantastical world of Pandora. And also how good you are at traversing things. So how, because movement that's a big part of it. The last one is mastery, and mastery is all about how good you are at your class and the things that you do with your class. So each Vault Hunter has a skill tree with, I would say, 18 to 20 different skills in it that you can take and put various skill points into. And a lot of them, probably about 30 to 50% of them, have bonuses based on your mastery.
Okay.
So the higher your mastery, the better you are at the various, at your class. It's how much time you've put into being as true to your class as possible. So those are the 4.
I like it. Brian says that 4 will help make the game easier for non-RPG players, I'm guessing. And as truly not an RPG player, I like that you only have 4. There's only like 4 things I have to really think about.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate that. And I can see how that would help you guys with your creation of all of it. And I like the 4 that you kept. Like, those are logical. What were the 2 that got like axed?
So originally they had a lot more to do with the weapons. And then we kind of pulled back the stats from being just specifically about the weapons to being more abstract and more about your Vault Hunter as a character, rather than how good you are at shooting weapons. Shooting weapons is obviously the main portion of the combat in the game, but it's not the main portion of the overall game.
Okay.
So the 2 that were very more focused on weapons, if you as a player wanted to go more into depth about, your character and how they interact with the world outside of combat, those stats really didn't matter as much to you.
Okay.
So we took them out.
That makes, it makes a lot of sense to kind of pare that down. So how many people can play, and how long does a campaign take?
So there are 2 different kinds of players in the game. The first one is the Bunker Master, or the BM for short. Yep. No, yep.
I'm a child, and I think of bowel movements are funny. So
It is.
Okay, sorry. You can continue.
It is very on brand for sure. And so the bunker master is in charge of kind of the world, all the people you meet within the world who aren't the players, and also all of the enemies.
Okay.
So they kind of control the action behind their screen if they have one, and will guide the players through the adventures that they go on. The rest of the players will be vault hunters. Each vault hunter can be one of 10 classes. Each class having its own like full page skill tree that you print out and use. And there's 4 different archetypes that you can choose from. So even if you and I are both playing as sirens, well, there's actually 2 different class of sirens. So we could have different skill trees to begin with, and also we could be different archetypes. So our characters would look very different from each other, even if we are the same class.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
So you always need a bunker master. So you always have to have one bunker master, or 2. I don't know if you have a dual-headed bunker master.
2 BMs.
Yeah. It's a lot, but I think you can squeeze it in. It's fine. And the usual amount, like not limiting, but it's probably between 2 and 4 players to be vault hunters. You can go to 5. You can just run one person through, but really, I really hope you know that person real well. If you're just one person running through an adventure, just you and the BM, you got to be real close.
That sounds like it'd be
really
really hard.
4,
super hard.
I've seen people do it. It's been I've run someone through on Pathfinder like a little like short adventure.
Okay.
Because they weren't around for the very first adventure.
Okay.
That everyone ran through. I ran through with the rest of the players, so I gave them their own little like mini adventure as like a side quest, and it was pretty fun. Like, yeah, all the decisions are still there, but there's not as many people to like back up your dumb decisions if you make dumb decisions.
That's like the hard part in like any game like this. Like, if my decision is terrible or I roll terrible, I feel like I'm screwing everybody else.
Yeah.
It's so hard. I love it. Now, how long does a campaign take if you're playing it with 4 people and your BM?
So we have in the book, which is 250 pages. It has 3 adventures in it. Okay. One is an introductory adventure that will probably take about 3 or 4 hours to get through all of the content if your players really want to do everything. Like, if they want to explore, if they're kind of the kind of players that like anything that can explored will be explored, it'll probably take 3 to 4 hours to get through Marcus's quest for the wizard's wand, which is what our introductory adventure is for.
I like it.
The cool part about that adventure is it kind of teaches you how to play the game. It teaches the bunker master how their role works and what they need to be doing as you're playing, and it also teaches the players how their characters work and how combat, everything outside of combat, the whole world works. So by the time you're done with that adventure, you should know most of the rules that you need to play the game.
Nice.
So that one takes about 3 to 4 hours for the introductory, and then there are 2 full campaigns within the game. One of which is, like I mentioned before, the RPG version of the virtual Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep adventure.
Yes.
That people who have played the DLC will be very familiar with. We actually have that you can run through in this game.
I like that it's called Tiny Tina.
Mm-hmm. So that one's Tiny Tina's Assault on Dragon's Keep, because she has gone through and scribbled notes and changed things.
Okay.
Which is true for the entire book. This is actually, if you talk to the people at Gearbox, they will tell you that this is actually Tiny Tina's copy of Bunkers and Badasses that they have found and gotten her permission to use.
I love it. Oh, I love when people are quirky and have fun. That's awesome. I love it.
So you'll see her notes in pink scribbled everywhere. She's done little drawings over top of people's faces, and she's changed some of the rules for sure. There are definitely rules in there that Tiny Tina has been like, I don't like it. I'm just going to do something else.
Was that like the most fun to create? was that quest.
Yeah, it's fun to create it's fun to like think about what would be written over by Tiny Tina.
That's awesome.
Like write something that Tiny Tina wouldn't like so that she can come in and write the fun thing over top of it.
I love that. That's fun. I like always have loved things like that where like a character has like put in their own. Oh my gosh, the cat is hitting me with her tail. Puts in her own. No, you can't step on the keyboard. Oh my gosh. Have put like their own little like commentary on it. It's so funny to me. I've always loved that no matter what it's in. Because it's just like fun. You just get like another little insight into that character's brain and how they do things.
That being said, if you want the deepest dive into the brain of Tiny Tina, there is the third adventure. The last adventure in the book is a full Tiny Tina adventure. From top to bottom, she doesn't want the party to end after the assault on Dragon's Keep, so she makes her own adventure for the players to run players through.
That's awesome.
And it's called Butt Stallion's Honey Heist is the name of that one. And it is so good.
I love the name. Wow.
It is Bunkers and Badasses gone off the rails completely. It is fantastic.
That's funny. I love the name. That's so fun. What like campaign is the one that you have? The one that you have the most fun creating, but the one that you have the most fun playing, if they're two different. I don't know.
I've run the quest for the Wizard's Wand a lot. Like that one has been play tested. Obviously, because it's shorter, it's so much easier to play test that one than the full campaigns. But that one has been play tested kind of rigorously and repeatedly to make sure that it's perfect for a BM and players to all learn the game at the same time. Because it's sometimes very difficult to do. It's something that a lot of games can actually accomplish, is teaching both halves how to play the game at the same time.
I feel like that's very hard, and it's very impressive that you did it.
There's a lot of playtesting. There's a lot of help from Marshall Britt, who is the lead developer on the project from Leader Games. He ran quite a lot of the playtesting. He is the all-star BM. He's the best BM you could ever ask for. But yeah, so it was a lot of playtesting. So I think just from Stockholm Syndrome of playing that one so much, it's probably my favorite.
Okay.
But that one always has those fun moments. Like there are a lot of fun moments built into the big campaigns, but that one like squeezes a lot of fun moments into like just 3 hours. Like there's so much, there's a lot of surprises that you'll find even within the singular introductory module that you can play.
I love it. That's cool. Now I'm kind of guessing that you probably did a lot of game testing when everyone was like in quarantine. How did that work out?
So, originally a lot of our playtests were in person. I had run playtests for quite a few groups of just obviously the introductory module and the campaigns and stuff. But as soon as everything started happening, going down, and we were starting to work from home and stuff, all of that switched to Roll20, which is like a virtual tabletop that you can use.
Okay.
Where you can set up maps and everything. There are a couple of them. There's Roll20 and then there's Fantasy Grounds, but I had used Roll20 in the past, so I decided to try that one again, and it's great. So there was a lot of weeks of set up all of the maps and get all of the tokens for the characters and get them in there for the content. And then Marshall would run his group digitally through that content and then be like, okay, now do that all again, but for the next week, because they would meet once every week to play. And so I was just trying to stay ahead of them playtesting, because sometimes they would get through a lot more content than I thought they would and be like, uh-oh, I gotta make more stuff. I gotta make maps.
You're like, I need to do more things.
Mm-hmm.
That's always fun.
But we've gotten it down. So we do know that if you just enjoy playing RPGs digitally, or if you want to do socially distanced gaming, Bunkers and Badasses works perfectly.
That's awesome.
on those digital platforms. because we know, because that's how 90% of the game got tested as much as it did.
You're like, well, we did it, so we know it's gonna be fine. I love it. Alrighty. So I guess let's check out their website. Ooh, Brian, Ian, be proud of me. I hit the right
NirvanaGames.com
button. I hit the right button. Also, you guys can't tell, but I can see it on my other monitor that the web address is tinytinagames.com. That makes me super pumped.
Nirvana Games had previously made Tiny Tina's Robot Tea Party, which was a small box card game. I think it was just like a deck of cards, and but it was all about building your own little automatons, your own little robots. But it was at Tiny Tina's Tea Party, so obviously it was Tina it up. So that was the game that they had made previously, and
it's the same Tiny Tina.
Yes, yeah, it's the same character.
I feel like if I wasn't bad at video games, that I should like attempt to play this, because I feel like Tiny Tina is awesome. But like every time we try to play, my character just looks at the ground and goes in circles. Like there's too many buttons. If it was like on a regular Nintendo, it'd be a different story. I'd probably play it. Now there's like 2 joysticks and like triggery thing. I don't know. It's too much.
So the reason I've played through most of them is because I play all of them with my girlfriend, with Julia.
That's awesome.
She loves the series also. So we've I think it was one of her first person shooters that wasn't GoldenEye. Because she destroys a GoldenEye. Do not challenge her in GoldenEye. She will win, and you will be sad. She'll let you be Oddjob. Doesn't even matter. She'll let you be Oddjob. You'll go down.
That's awesome. She does not care. I love it. Okay, so I guess really cool artwork here. I'm loving the dragon with like the fire, and it looks like its mouth is splitty split.
I'll tell you, it makes a real good poster.
Yeah, you've got a really cool poster over there. Now introducing the Bunkers and Badasses Science Fantasy RPG Sourcebook. This is pretty dope. That's pretty dope.
I can recite some things from memory. It's got 250 full color pages,
what?
Over 200 jokes, and I can personally attest that at least 20 of them are funny.
Only 20 are funny, everybody. Only 20 are funny.
I will claim probably 3 of the funny ones. I will give the lead writer, Anthony Birch, the credit for the other 17 or so funny jokes.
Well, good for you guys for being funny. Included in the deluxe edition. So I thought this was really cool when Brian showed me this the other day, your little Bunker Master game screen. I really thought it was cool. And I think what I liked most was like all the different characters on it. But behind it, you still have like, looks like just like woods. You have like a scene behind it, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
You got your dice, and then you got like miniatures and like the little enemy standees. You got a lot with this game, which is pretty solid.
It's a lot for a deluxe edition. I was talking to someone about it the other day, and like right now it's $100 because $20 off throughout September. So once it hits into October, that discount and special will go away. So if you're on the fence, like this is kind of pushing you more towards now.
So remember, this is going away in a few days. If you want this, you gotta do it now, friends.
So the book is $60. If you just want the book, it is $60 because obviously 250 pages, 3 adventures in there. It is everything you need to play. Whereas other RPGs would make you buy like 3 $50 books to be able to play the game. We didn't do that.
Thank you for not doing that.
Yeah. And so the rest of the content right now is like buying a $40 game. If you just go out and buy a game that's like $40, that's if you got a game with that much content in it for $40, you would be very happy, I assume.
Stoked. Because imagine how much play you're going to get out of that. So these are all pre-order at this point. Do they have a plan or like a vague timeline? Because we all know how production is. So a vague timeline of when they hope to have it out, because production.
So we are currently in the process of finalizing the files. So we're
Okay.
finalizing the rule book and the adventures, locking in all of that, making all of the tweaks and changes that we want to make kind of the final stuff.
Okay.
And they're hitting print very, very soon on all of those
Exciting.
things. And so the hope is sometime in Q1 of 2021, so January to March-ish region, is when the game will hopefully be shipping to all of the people who pre-ordered it.
Dope.
And they're giving themselves they're doing all of this now to give themselves a really big buffer in case of anything that happens. So optimistically, it'll be, in the January portion of Q1, but in the real world where things happen and sometimes stuff changes, that's why it's Q1 and not January of 2021, because it could any number of things could happen. So they want to make sure that if they do, they've given themselves enough time. So January to March 2021 is where they're looking at now.
Which,
and
I mean,
from what I can tell,
makes sense. 2020 was a dumpster fire, so it makes sense. Yikes. That's pretty cool. So what do you have anything that you're working on next?
So I we kind of talked before about the HRPG.
Yep.
With Marshall. Marshall and I are working on a game that was very relevant, I would say probably last year, and now we'll see how relevant it is in like 2021. But it's about gamifying. Excuse me. It's about gamifying business cards. So business cards are a thing that everyone at every convention ends up with like 20 of, and they're just like, I don't know what to do with these. So we had worked before on a system like an RPG that lets you use those to generate dungeons and monsters to like fight in said dungeons. We call it the HRPG. So we're working on that one to hopefully we'll have more information on that soon. As we're working, we can kind of finally, get things ready to show off. There's nothing that's been announced yet, but do you know Floodgate Games?
No, I do not.
Floodgate Games may be one to watch in the next couple weeks or the next month, as there may be an announcement soon.
Maybe I feel like I'm getting like insider trader information. I'm like, yes.
I might have gotten to work on an expansion for a game that's one of my favorites.
Is it bad that I'm going to go to their website right now?
They've had a lot of games, so it's going to be really difficult to narrow it down. But they have been sort of doing some very pointed marketing posts recently, teasing things.
Cosmic Colonies, I like the logo for that.
Yeah, that one's really cool. I played that one years ago as a prototype that was about a market. It was just that game has changed themes, I believe, multiple times to land where it has.
Sometimes that happens.
Great. Yeah, it's for the best most of the time.
When you scroll down, you see I guess I could share this in the stream so everyone can see what I'm looking at. Nerf. Nerf. Okay, so and down when you scroll down from their main. Doop doop doop. Okay. You see they're coming soon. Vivid looks amazing. I don't know what this is. I haven't seen that one. But this looks awesome.
That might be new. I might be behind on my Floodgate knowledge.
Look at how majestic this elephant is. Okay. And Holy Festival of Colors. I love this. That looks cool. Julio, I love all this artwork
is
here.
The designer of that one. He's fantastic.
Who is?
Julio Nazario. He's done that and Control from Pandasaurus Games.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He is in the next 2 years. He's going to have probably 20 games with his name on them, and they're all going to be fantastic.
I don't
understand how he does it. He's a magician. I don't know.
Some people are just magicians, and you're like, how you do this? I don't know. This one looks cool, but I'm scared I'm going to butcher this name. Sagrada?
Mm-hmm. Daryl Andrews, very good friend, and Adrian Adamescu.
They got some cool stuff happening, which is pretty cool. So I'm excited that you have projects coming later on, which
Yeah.
is really cool. Brian just said Ian designed all these cars. I love that autocorrect takes my name from Kara to Cars. Thanks, Brian. But yeah, I don't know. But Bunkers and Badasses is the one we're here to talk about, which is pretty exciting. It's really cool that you got to do something based off of a video game that you love.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
That's got to be
it was
kind
a
of like a
surprise.
dream come true.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been crazy. I don't know. That was there were a lot of times where I was like, wait, no, this is reality, right? Like this isn't just one really, really weird and long dream that I get to do this. And then no, it turns out it's real. I hope. Unless, simulation, but who knows?
I mean, it could be, but that would be very elaborate.
Whoever's
and how
running
would
the
they get the
simulation must
rest
like
of the
me.
world in on that too?
Yeah.
Very elaborate.
It's a very elaborate Truman Show situation.
That movie as a child freaked me out because I was like, what if this is real? So I'd go to the bathroom and be like, can people see me in the mirror? And I would like make sure that like I could not be seen in mirrors. That movie messed me up. I should not have watched that as a child.
But it had Jim Carrey.
All of our parents were like, it's Jim Carrey, it's funny, and we all go and see it, and they're like, and all the kids are like, don't have a mirror. I hope no one else had that experience either, because that's terrifying. Now I'm like horrified.
There's a whole generation.
Like now I'm horrified that I admitted to it, and I hope that other people experienced that too, so I'm not the only one that was like, oh yeah, in 97, I was like, mirrors, no way, man.
I assume so. I assume that was a whole generation of people who were like, oh yeah, no, it's a Jim Carrey movie. This is going to be great. And then they come out and they're like, what is real? Am I real? What is happening? Is my kid real? I don't know.
Like, are these all actors? If I walk far enough, do I just like walk into a wall and is it a soundstage?
Right.
Whoever made that, I hope they went home and hugged their mom. Or a stuffed animal or something, because it's terrifying. I love how I think that's scarier than like some scary movies. Because it could be real. I don't know. Okay, so getting back on topic because I wander. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this evening. Do you have anything that you want to plug or talk about or share before we're like, okay?
Obviously, if you're interested in the game, you go to nerdvanagames.com, so where you can order it. There's a subreddit now. That's a weird thing. I don't know why that's the most real part of all this.
You have a subreddit for your game? What?
And I went in there and I was just posting some random stuff, and then they realized I was the lead designer, and then they tagged me as the lead designer. I was like, all right, fine.
That's cool.
Yeah, now you can just go in and mess with them. I can just say stuff is real, and they don't know.
Be like, there's 5 kittens in the game, and you have to find all 5 kittens to survive. There's no cats.
Right. I also stream twice a week on Infectious Play Live, formerly on Facebook. Now we're streaming on Twitch, seeing how that works. It's been okay so far. We actually did our first Twitch stream today. So if you find us on Facebook or Twitch, you can follow us there. It's John Gilmore and I, who had made Dinosaur Island and a bunch of other games, Dead of Winter, Kids on Bikes. Very prolific. We mostly just talk about whatever, but on Wednesdays we, talk about design and whatever.
I always see your guys' videos on Facebook because I'm at work and I do digital marketing, so I'm on Facebook all day. And I was like, oh, sweet. So sometimes, like, if I'm not, like, on a conference call, like, play it in the background. It's pretty solid stuff. I guess now I'll have to pay attention to my Twitch and follow you guys. What's your guys' is it Infectious Games on Twitch, too?
Infectious Play, yep.
Infectious Play, cool. Yep. Before you go, Brian wants to know, who is your favorite Vault Hunter?
Oh, that's a good one. I gotta go. Man, I think it's Flack. I think it really is Flack. He's the what is his class? I can't even remember. Beastmaster from Borderlands 3. He is voiced by Sungwon Cho or ProZD. He's very big on YouTube. He's a voice actor. I actually met him because of this. That's a different story.
Do you want to talk about that story? You should maybe talk about that story.
Well, if you kind of reverse back to last year, Marshall and I got the opportunity to go to the Borderlands 3 launch party, which is being held in Texas. Which at the time we had both kind of posted about, hey, we're in Texas and we got to go to this thing, and everyone was like, why did you get to go to this thing that does like? And I was like, we got the opportunity, so obviously we said yes, and then we just left it there. And then you fast forward a year back to now, and everyone's like, that makes sense now. I get it. That makes sense why you were there.
You were like, no, it's just because, like, right place, right time, friends. It's fine.
But because he voices a character in Borderlands 3, Sungwon Cho was there, and Marshall and I got to meet him, and he is a huge board game nerd. Like he's very like he started out just doing like voice acting and like kind of skit comedy stuff on YouTube, and then after he had like millions of followers and subscribers on YouTube, he was like, oh yeah, also I like board games. So he started like reviewing board games and stuff.
Dope.
And so I was like, oh my God, that's awesome. Like, so we got to meet him and talk to him for a while. So yeah, I think Beastmaster. And also he has pets and you get to like, you can pet the pets. It's amazing. It's so obviously Beastmaster.
I mean, I love animals. I would be down for petting something. What kind of pets does he have?
He has a jabber, which is like a monkey with who holds a gun in his tail and shoots people.
Of course.
That's the one I use because obviously, and his name is Meat Thief, and you can just pet him. He has a skag, which is kind of like a little, I don't know, if like a hairless cat was a dog and big. And has a little bit of armor. So there's the skag. It's pretty gross looking, but that one's adorable. And then
it's gross looking, but it's adorable. Okay. I like it. Yeah, makes sense.
And then there's the spider ant, which is kind of like a beetle but backwards. I don't know how to describe it. It's got like a really big head piece, kind of like a xenomorph. And then like little pincers with things, but it's all like at the like beetle type shell on it. And it'll like roll up into a little ball and like hit things. They're all great. You can choose whichever pet you want, but I chose the jabber, and so he follows me around and throws barrels at people. It's great.
All right.
I'm always like, Meat Thief, get back here. What are you doing?
It's awkward. Brian says that Flack is his favorite as well. So I'm gonna go with. I mean, as soon as you said like Beast, I was like, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
that's pretty solid. Well, cool. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. Congratulations. This is really cool. I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
No one else can be like, hey, I did this thing and it's really cool. Like, this is cool. So good for you, man. That's awesome. Congratulations. I look forward to seeing what you do in the future because obviously I know who you are, so I know what you've created, and I know it's all pretty awesome. Right. So again, thank you so very much. If you like RPGs and you like Borderlands, go check it out. I mean, or if you like RPGs, go check it out. If you like Borderlands, go check it out. I like both those options. Nerdvana Games are the folks that are publishing it. Go check it out. And thank you so much, everybody. And we'll talk to you later. Bye.